Hey everybody, welcome back to Andertons TV. It's a special day today. We've got a double treat, a triple treat if you're coming tonight. So, Mr. Paul Gilbert is back in the house.
I feel like I'm far away.
We are far away, aren't we? You know why though? It's because after this is another special guest. So
back.
Lisa X is going to come and join and we're going to talk to her as well. So please like and subscribe, stay tuned because these videos will all go out on different days, I'm sure. Are you? Is that what it is? That is a spectacular jacket, Mr. Gilbert.
Oh, yeah. Well, you turned the AC on, so it might be possible.
Feels like a shame.
Let's see what we got.
Wow. Is that a genuine 80s Mr. Big jacket, or is that a more recent purchase?
This is, I can't remember why I got it, but, you know, on Etsy, you can get stuff that's custom measured. So this was, you know, it's actually long enough for my arms. And I just figured it kind of matches the guitar.
It's a
it's got the gold hardware, and so you need...
It's a great looking jacket. Well, it's lovely to see you. And
I feel like I should be singing some Elvis.
well, you know what? You are an encyclopedia. I'm just going to let you every
I don't
time
know what... There's...
channel it, baby.
You ever listen to the very first Elvis album?
No. Well, I probably have.
I mean, every artist, their first album's the best one, right?
Yep.
And I figure I know Hound Dog and you know, Jailhouse Rock.
Blue Suede Shoes.
Well, what about the deep cuts on the first album?
Okay.
And there's a song. Now I remember. I don't know what key it's in.
Okay.
But I'll just sing it like, if you want to be loved. Yeah. 1, 2. If you want to be loved, I say you got to love me too. Oh yeah. If you want to be loved, you got to love me too. Oh yeah. I ain't for no one-sided love affair. And
it's uncanny. It's uncanny. It's literally like having Elvis in the room. Priscilla, she's gone weak at the knees seeing.
I don't know if this is going to last the whole interview, but you know, we got it documented.
So I want to talk about today. Look, we've had you on before, and it's always fun. Let's talk about what you've been up to most recently as well. Mr. Big, been on the road for a while, and that's finished now earlier this year.
Did our farewell tour. Thanks to everybody who came to the shows. It was very successful.
Farewell, right? It's all everyone. It's like farewell until the next.
Farewell
offer.
to the best of our ability.
Yeah. So how was that? What was it like seeing the guys again? Do you stay in touch anyway, or is it very much you just sort of haven't seen each other for years?
It was good. I mean, it's nice doing relatively big venues, you know, compared to what I got used to as a solo artist.
Yeah.
So, you know, especially the last show was in Japan at the Budokan Arena. You know, big production. You get to feel like you're worthy of the jacket. And musically, you know, I gave myself some good challenges. I played the Rocky theme a lot in my solo. Which, now this is a really good demonstration of the slide magnet.
Yeah.
Because there's that.
That's underneath the pick guard.
Yeah, that one's aftermarket. I put that on with a magnet. But this one, actually, the only guitar ever that's comes stock with a slide magnet.
That's a stock feature.
So, you know, in the Rocky theme, there's that synthesizer that goes, you know, you got that. If I can do that, you know.
And that's done.
That's done. And a lot of other stuff you can do too. But
I mean, as in you're playing that in the band, as in, or this was.
Well, I've done that, like the arranged version, you know, with all the instruments with my solo band.
Great way to come on.
Mr. Big, I did that is my unaccompanied solo.
That's superb. Is there anything, you know? Look, do you know this will freak you out? Well, or make you feel old, and I apologise. It makes me feel old. I have a black and white photo of you at the first Andertons guitar clinic that I think we ever did.
Oh my goodness.
And that is 30 years ago.
That was before they had color photography.
Yeah, black and white just to make us look moody. But yeah, I think it was 30 years ago in Guildford, opposite the venue that we're playing tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was thinking, you know, You were the very first person we ever, long before YouTube or anything like that, when people had to used to really actually attend events if they wanted to see anything. But no, so Mr. Bigwise, is there anything, as the sort of time moves forward, and obviously none of us are getting any younger, does the Mr. Big set have to change because just some stuff that maybe in your 20s and 30s was fine, you have to scale back now, or actually have you been able to stay kind of, are the chops all still there? And
I would say the thing that happens is live, the tempos can change. We don't play with a click.
Right.
We just play our human clock. So there was a song that had really unusual. It was a part I wrote on piano.
Yeah.
And I used a clean sound. It was like how's it go? And that's about the tempo that I could play. Now live, we all get excited, and so I'm, and it's impossible.
It goes the other way.
I cannot keep up. Now I probably couldn't then either.
Right.
But so I worked out a new way where I could. There's like 2 pull-offs in there.
Right.
And that's just enough recovery time, where if it gets faster, I'm able to handle it.
Does the drill still come out in a set, or
the drill absolutely comes out? That turns into like a problem because now we can't fly with batteries. You have to, or you can, but they have to be in your check plug. Right. So you have to like really. To me, that's a lot of mental.
Yes.
Consumes a lot of mental power to work out. Now you can put the batteries here, but you can't put them there. But somehow our road crew, they're smarter than me. They can figure it out.
Right. That was always such a great party piece, wasn't it? The sort of the plectrum on the drill. And I mean, what else is, so when you're not Mr. Bigging, is it still life full of teaching and clinics and stuff like that?
Well, I have my online school at ArtistWorks, where I've now done about 16,000 videos for the students there, all in the archives.
Yeah.
And at the moment I'm here in the UK to do a clinic. I just did the Ibanez guitar show in Germany. And I'm getting ready to do some shows in Italy. Now, the thing that I worked up purely for my own, I think people will enjoy it, but purely for my own fun, is I put together a 30-minute Led Zeppelin medley.
Amazing.
And so, like a lot of my pedals right now, I've got a pedal that's only for like 30 seconds of one song. The Houses of Holy, I've got to have that stopped flanger. And then that's the only time I use that flanger for the whole thing. Then I've got to have it's already set. I've got to have the phase 90 for the Rover. Or I'm sorry. What's it called? That is the Rover. And that's the only time that pedal gets used. And then I'm not sure what pedal I should use for Achilles' Last Stand. I just turn on like my what is it called?
That's a jam.
Retro vibe. Oh, and then the chorus is the old HBE chorus pedal. I think it got bumped. I need more. That's about right. So that's good, first of all, for your... But it's also really good for the solo in Good Times, Bad Times. Where he's doing like that. I know what it means to be alone. I sure do wish I wasn't home. I don't care what the neighbors say.
That is a song, and do you remember where you were when you? Because that's is it track 1 on Led Zeppelin 1, isn't it?
It's track 1, side 2, I believe.
Right.
Because the other song, the way I do in my medley is the. That's side 1 with a big organ solo.
Led Zeppelin 1, man. Can you imagine being a band and like that's your first album? It's like I can't. I'm sure I've asked you this before. I've never met anybody as encyclopedic as you are when it just comes to riffs and songs.
It's because I love them.
Is that all it is? Or have you just always... Do you
well,
have
I
like
don't always
some
have
sort
it
of...
right either, but
you know, some people have a photographic memory so they can see something and they never forget it. Do you have like the sort of audio equivalent of that? You just hear a song?
There's a lot of them that I get rusty on because they're the tricky ones. But if it's built from power chords, you know, that's easy to do. But yeah, I just love them and play them for fun.
And do you just need to be able to recall the melody in your head and then the fingers just know where to go?
Well, that's a project. It's a really rewarding project because the melodies look different than scales.
Yeah. Even
though they're kind of hidden inside. A lot of times a melody is more horizontal.
Right.
So one of the first ones that I learned was Mercedes-Benz by Janis Joplin. It's a great one because all she does is sing and stomp her foot. And she's in E flat. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? Now the E flat, I'm a guitar player, so I'm not going to play an E flat. That's too hard. So I'll play an E. Oh Lord, and of course, you know, it's singing falsetto. But if I work it out with the slide, 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen to the sustain.
That's good.
You're going to have a bite.
And so, but that, I think that's the point. Are you, as long as you can recollect the melody, you just know where to play that. I suppose it's one of the talents of being a good guitar player.
You know, every guitar player who's been playing a while, if they hear like, you know, they probably can play that.
Yeah.
You know, if they're well versed in 70s rock guitar technique, that's going to be a familiar place to go.
Yeah.
If you spend some time playing melodies, you start to notice the same thing. There's certain licks that singers do.
Right.
And there's a couple that cross the threshold and do both. Like the AC/DC song. That's a lot of singers sing that lick.
Okay.
And so that's a really good one to know because it's dual purpose.
Well, look, you asked if we could, you know, talking of songs, you asked if we could just, or if I could just...
I gave you an assignment.
You did.
Let's see how you did your homework.
At 4 o'clock last night. Could you just quickly... Fortunately, it's, most of it is not too difficult to do. Yeah. So we're going to have a jam of that whilst Paul noodles over the top. And then I think after that, we'll talk about gear. I mean, there are definitely... I've not seen you using these before, and there's new pedals on the board.
Whatever you like.
We'll do it.
Now for this... we have to decide like which guitar is Justin Hawkins and which guitar is Dan Hawkins because that's I'm not going to I'm not going to play
I
guitar.
I think in this particular jam I'm the third brother that isn't very good on the guitar. I'm Stephen Hawkins. Actually, that was probably
brief history of time.
I've suddenly realised that I've completely randomly pulled out the word Stephen, not realising there is a Stephen Hawkins, and it wasn't meant to be a joke about that. So I'll be someone else. I'll be James Hawkins. Yeah. So yeah, I just quickly. Fortunately, it was like. So that was the bit that I kind of learned, and then I'm going to fluff the rest of it somehow. Yeah. Paul, by the way, has very graciously lent me his other guitar, which we will talk about in a bit. It's amazing. It feels beautiful. But we're going to start. We're going to try and actually do even the weirdy atmospheric bit at the beginning.
You do the atmosphere. I'll do the bass line.
Okay, then.
You ready? Now, I have a question for you. Is that strap going to fall off and mess you up?
Maybe a little bit, but I can live with it.
Okay.
No, it's fine because it doesn't look like it wants to come off, does it? So it's fine.
1, 2, 3, 4. fantastic.
Oh my God! There we go. Look at that. Thank you. And unlike many YouTube channels, that was actually just one take. For a change.
Now that's an example of a melody being very horizontal.
Right.
Because when you go in your... You know, all that last...
Do you know, the bit that I think I've learnt most recently about trying to follow vocal melody and guitar solo...
I've heated up after that.
...is how allowable repetition is. Like, before that I had that light bulb moment. I think if I was soloing, I'd almost be averse to, I'm almost avoiding repetition. And then
you want to show, like, spill out and look at all the licks I've got.
But actually what you realise is a really great melodic guitar solo follows quite a typical vocal formula. And it is repetitive. You listen to any song, a chorus or a verse is normally the same phrase sung 4 times with different words. And so I thought that was a...
You know, it's an interesting one like that because it breaks some harmonic rules, but if you try to fix it, it only gets worse. Was it the Pride in the Name of Love, U2?
Yeah.
Where over the D, it's fine, but then over the F, starts getting a little sour.
I need to be back in normal tuning, but...
Actually, I don't know if I've got the chords right, but I know that there's some real clashing going on.
Is there?
But it's sort of... But both things make sense. So the melody makes sense, the chords make sense. They don't fit together, but, the human brain can handle it. It's like, it's because you kind of know...
I think sometimes that when you're listening to guitar solos and you have that sense that there's some tension has changed or there's a vibe that has changed, and actually what you realise is that the lead line isn't changing at all, but it is the underlying chord that changes, and it's the
or another example is that the Rush tune, which is all major, but then the band hits the minor third, which completely clashes with what's going on upstairs, but if you fix it, that's the thing. You go through and you go like, okay, smarty pants. If the G's wrong, let's try G sharp. And it's just like, now the right one's not as good.
Oh, well, there's
I
no
love
wrong
when the wrong one is better.
Yeah, there's no wrong notes, is it? If it all works. Right. Well, look, let's go gear stuff. So your rider came through for this, and it said, "Can I have 2 Fender Twins, please?" And I thought, well, there's a departure from what I've normally had to get for you when you're, big Marshall fan over the years, Laney fan over the years. I would never have. Yeah, I don't know. It's like we're talking about sort of right notes and wrong chords and all that kind of stuff. I would never have put you down as a twin guy. So where are we going?
I'm whatever clean sound I can get at an international gig guy.
I see.
Because I get all the distortion from my pedals.
Right.
And then so I just want a reliable clean sound.
Yeah.
If I can get just a tiny little bit of reverb on top, that's extra bonus. So, on the Mr. Big tour, I had a Marshall 1959.
Right.
Which is in no master volume. It's to get distortion out of that, you're gonna kill yourself and other people because it's so loud. So that's a great pedal platform. It's going to be nice and clean and reliable. On gigs where they didn't have one, like we went to India, they didn't have Marshall 1959.
Right.
I asked for an Ampeg SVT.
Right. Okay.
And just turn the bass. I know that's going to be relatively clean and loud. So turn the bass knob down a bit, and it's a good clean sound. And twins tend to be clean. Plus, you can put one in front of you like a monitor. Because if I can get through a tour and never have to speak to the monitor person, not because I don't like them, I just don't want to. I don't want to trouble them, and I want to be able to get my exact comfortable listening level with my hand in that knob, without having to bother anybody. So, no up, 2, no down. That never works. Yeah. So I got my Fender Twin in front of me like a wedge.
Yeah.
The drummer, which I can hear through the air, my voice because it's in my head. And I never have to have a meeting with a monitor person.
And are you still? I know last time we met, you started to have some problems with your hearing. Are you still?
Well, started.
Oh, is that still an issue, or are you just? Is it still okay to have a monitor, the Twin as long as it's loud enough?
I just jammed foam earplugs.
Right.
And so basically, it's not like a pristine, beautiful, high fidelity experience that I'm having while I'm playing live, but I can hear and I can feel it.
Right.
And then you get nice sustaining feedback. So it's as long as and I will actually have a conversation with the monitoring person. I'll tell them they need kick and snare.
Yeah.
My voice, if you're in a good mood, and I got my guitar taken care of.
Well, that's all right. Okay, so I mean, I like. So you're very much you've sort of grown into this. Get the gain from the pedalboard and just have clean. Was that that's a more of a clinic thing, or are you still driving that Marshall pretty hot when you're a Mr. Big to get gain out of it, or are you running that pretty clean?
Over the years, I mean, back in the Racer X days, I had like modified Marshalls and Fenders that Lee Jackson used to do, and that, there's a whole story of that going to. I had the ADA preamp for a while, running through Ampeg bass amps. That was with Laney for a couple of years. And like Laney is fantastic to plug in and get all the distortion from that head.
Yeah,
those are really good like that. But if you go to India and they don't have one, and that's the thing. Like we do with both Mr. Big and myself, do a lot of international touring. So I have to be ready for the only amp they have is a Roland Jazz chorus, and that's happened.
Yeah.
Was like that's the only amp they have, and if I didn't have pedals, I'd really be in trouble. But with pedals, it's all right.
Do you mind me asking? So I kind of feel like I know obviously Laney and stuff like that are kind of helping put these events on, so I don't want to put you in a spot here. But is there one guitar sound in your, whether it was Racer X, Mr. Big, solo stuff, whatever, where you go, man, I'm proud of that. That was the sound. So not necessarily even the licks or whatever, but just like if I could recreate that every day.
There's one on the second Racer X album. There's a song called "Heart of a Lion," which was actually written by the Judas Priest guys.
Okay.
It's a simple riff, except for the fact that it starts on 2.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to turn on all my distortion to get it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I missed the pick harmonic. And then it went to like this, sparkly clean, which I can do with the pedals.
Yeah.
That's the thing with like the modded Marshall or whatever. If I suddenly wanted to switch to like super clean, that wasn't gonna work. And with my pedals, I've got a Boss looper where I can take all the distortion stuff out of line with a single pedal click, and go to a compressor and a chorus. So I go from to. And I got to play Stairway to Heaven then. And then you go. So I can get back and forth.
I kind of love the idea, and by the way, I'm not letting you off the hook. You've still got to tell me what the amp and the pedals were that you got this Racer X song with. But I'm loving that you think you've made a breakthrough by having a pedal board where you can switch from one sound to another, whereas obviously Lisa's board and many other boards for many, many years have let you do that, but you've obviously decided to stay with pedals rather than, go with a
Well, I have large feet.
You do have large feet.
So if the foot switches are too close together and you can't move them, what am I going to do? I'm also not particularly coordinated in the physical realm. So, I'm going to trip over stuff and hit the wrong button. So, if you measure the distance between my foot switches, there's probably a proportionally larger distance to the size of my foot.
It is an unnecessarily large pedal board, but I get it. It's practical.
Heart of a Lion. The riff was... Oh, I got to put the... I think we also quadruple tracked it.
Ah, of course.
It starts with a double.
Yeah.
2 of me, and then 2 of Bruce Bouillet comes in on the other speaker. And
do you remember what the rig was that you were using?
Yeah, that was just a Lee Jackson Marshall.
Right. What, JCM 800
that plugged straight in.
There we go. There's something about, we're trying so hard to reinvent stuff that was just good before. But look, I get it. Quadruple tracking.
Well, you know, it was funny though. Like, you know, I'm not the only person who loved that sound.
Right.
About maybe 3 years ago, or actually longer, some years ago, Buckethead came to my house. His producer had bought. I was like advertising these high-priced guitar lessons that went along with an album I was doing, and Buckethead's producer, as a present, bought Buckethead a lesson because he knew, you know, we had a connection before. So, you know, when I found out that Buckethead was coming, I was like, oh, well, you know, normally the lesson's 90 minutes. I was like, come on, spend the whole day. Come on, we'll hang out. So I think he drove to Portland, and he got me a present. And the present was a Lee Jackson modified Marshall.
Nice.
Because he wants me to sound like I sounded when he used to like me. And so I was flabbergasted. Like, wow, it was an amazing present. You know, the Marshall had, you know, and I plugged in, and it was awful.
Oh, really?
Now it might have just been old tubes or valves, as we say here in the UK. But you know, it wasn't, or my ears have changed.
Yeah,
who knows?
Sometimes I almost feel like gear is appropriate for a time and a place, and then you get all nostalgic about it, and then you get it all back again, and you go, oh, it's just not. It's not doing what I remember it doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, gear is funny like that. So look, take me through.
Okay, now the best way to take you through this is to turn everything off.
Yes.
And now the distorted side, if I turn off the distortion pedals, so I do have a delay. Let me turn it off too. So that's the Fender. I've got a little reverb on it, you can hear. But this is good, you know, if you're playing Gloria. Oh, give me a G! L! You know, so, and then the leave on distortion pedal is the AC booster. I don't know if it's a coincidence that AC is the first part of AC/DC, but it does sound nice for the just enough. It's real dynamic, you know, because if I play kind of light, it's still fairly clean. But if you hit it, but in most cases that's not enough.
Right. Okay.
I might use example where I'd use just that. I would turn on the retro vibe and do like the intro to Daydream. Oh, there it is. I'm blowing down. Sorry. So it's like clean, just a little bit of something on there. So, but most of the time I've got the Busta Grande, which pushes it a little more. That's a BBE pedal, so it just gives you a and it's kind of like it has the low end. You know, it makes your hands do this. Yeah. So that would be on. And even when I'm really cranked up, I can still stop. You know, it's not too much distortion. I'm going to turn the delay on this. So you have the little da-da. Yeah. That just makes me feel a
single
little better.
Repeat, just like a...
So that's nice. Still kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
But then if I need like, you know, guitar solo shreddery, then I've got the overdrive preamp by JHS, and that gives me, you know... I don't know what I'm doing. I really have to stop myself sometimes and go like, don't play unless you know what the groove is. If I just start like, what the hell? So I need to have a groove. What's the first song that comes to mind?
I was going to say AC/DC, anything really.
What's the first AC/DC song that comes to mind?
You Shook Me All Night Long.
Well, you don't have to play. I just
okay.
Which one?
It's You Shook Me All Night Long.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite AC/DC.
Now I turn it off as soon as I'm done playing, so that's my noise gate. Because if I left it on, we got hit. So I'm not going to leave it on.
That's the best noise gate there is.
Yeah, just turn the thing off.
Yeah, turn it off. Ah, man, we never heard Angus play "You Shook Me All Night Long" quite like that. But
you know what? One of the best Angus Young things. Maybe I might be hallucinating, but in Bad Boy Boogie, and in this breakdown, he just goes like. And the band, is doing these accents behind him. That takes some doing to be able to shake it that whole time for 2.5 minutes or however long he does that.
He's got tone for days in his fingers, hasn't he, that guy?
I love Angus so much. Wherever you are, Angus.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 sort of drive pedals sort of stacked up together gives you everything you really need. And then what have we got? Some modulation pedals for movement.
Yeah. The warbly pedals. I've got the THC. It stands for 3-Hound Chorus.
Okay.
By what are the Homebrew Electronics? They're out of business.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's just a. I'll get it on real fast. So you can do like. Kind of get that Steve Ray Vaughan kind of Leslie thing.
Yeah.
But it's great for the good times, bad times solo. Bad time.
That faster, choppier chorus is exactly that lick, or that sort of sound, isn't it?
And I imagine Jimmy probably had a Leslie.
I wouldn't have had a lot of choice. I don't even think chorus pedals existed back then, did they? So no, you're probably
But it does
right.
a good job in that. And then I always love the Robin Trowery Univibe kind of thing. This is a retro vibe by Jam Pedals. Whoa.
Great tone.
I've never done the kind of drugs that make you feel like that, but it feels like you get all the benefit of the drugs without
without the side
without
effects,
melting your brain. So and it's a good-looking pedal. It's got a little flowery stuff on it.
What else we got in here? What does the Callisto do?
Well, the other warbly one, I've got the MXR Phase 90, which again, that's good for Van Halen stuff too. As that kind of slow.
I never, on the subject of Van Halen, of all the amazing guitar players that I can think of that I've seen you share a stage with, he's not one. Did you ever collaborate or do any events or stuff with him, or?
He invited me to do a studio once.
Right.
So I went.
Okay.
You don't say no to an invitation to 5150. And the problem is that guitar players who are kind of in the hard rock metal category don't jam.
Right.
We rehearse with our band, get super tight, and don't let anyone mess it up. And since then, I've learned more about blues, and that's much more open. Like, here's the 3 chords.
Yeah.
We'll jam all night. So I spent a whole afternoon with Eddie, and we never picked up guitars. We just played demos for each other. And I wish that so much I could go back and go like, come on, Eddie, let's let's do. This is something
what
that
a
we
great
can
story.
Trade back and forth a little bit.
I wonder if he was thinking the same, like I wonder if there's a certain amount of just, I don't know, is there like who's the big dog? Oh, I suppose in fairness, you've got to, at the time, Eddie would have been the big dog, I guess, wouldn't he? But like, is there a point at which you have to stop yourself as he's playing and you're playing? Is there a sort of bit of one-upmanship, like who's going to play the fastest lick?
Well, that's the thing, we never played.
I suppose it didn't even happen, did it? So, oh man.
But the thing where I do get a chance to play with other, legends is a lot of the guitar camp things.
Yeah.
And those can turn competitive, but it's with, I think everybody's excited to hear the other person. The one time when I really learned something, I mean, maybe there's hopefully more than one time, but was with Eric Gales.
Right.
And we, there's 8 guitar players on stage. We're all, one person goes after the other. Eric was after me, and so I'm, I'm doing the scariest thing I possibly can. Then it's his turn, and he looks at me like, don't send it to me like that.
Right.
And he would do that. He was really generous where, he can do that, and he would, but then he'd bring it back down for the next person.
Great.
And I thought, I got to start doing that, because when the person throws you the music and it's on fire, it's like, give me a place to start. If I got to start there's nowhere to go.
He's one of my favorite. I adore the fact that because he's playing effectively an upside down strung guitar, he could play the same lick that you would play, but it's all
reversed,
fingered differently. So it will inevitably sound different. And I think it's something that it's super refreshing because it like I say, he can play the same lick, but it's just Eric Gales every time.
Yeah.
I love him. I must admit, I'm going to tell you my favorite Eric Gales story. So he's been to Andertons twice, and I think he comes in with his board with the power supply on it, and we plug it in. He goes to plug it in, and we're like, "Oh, wait, you've got the 110 volt one.
Make sure it's the right
Let me
voltage.
get you the 240 volt version."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, it's fine. I do it. I've used this power supply everywhere. It's all fine like that." Like, are you sure? You're sure? Plug it in straight away like that. And then I kid you not, 4 years later, he came back to Andertons. Bless him, I hope Eric doesn't mind me saying this, had zero recollection that he'd been here before.
Yeah.
I think that was a part of Eric's life that he's over now. And literally, he goes to plug his board in. He's like, I just plugged and we're like, Eric, that's the same, it's the 110, don't do it. And he literally went, no, it's fine like that, straight in. And we're all sitting there going, this is so weird. Like, anyway, so we sorted him out with another power supply, but I thought that was funny. But he's a great player. Do you talk about throwing the easy catch or whatever to the next guitar player, which I think is brilliant advice. In one of the many times that you've been at Andertons, you invited people from the audience to get up and jam. And you said, could I have someone that's maybe like under 10 years old, another guy who's like 15 years old, and then we'll have any category. And you were so gracious. Like the 10-year-old kid is playing, and you're playing back, keeping it all simple, blues, pentatonic stuff. He had the best time. Same with, anyway, when the last guy came up, he's playing and he starts to shred.
Yeah.
And then he starts doing this on the fretboard, and he sort of gives you the look like, come on, man. And I think everybody's going like, this is such a mistake. And you went, if that's what we're playing, let's go. And it's just like this guy was just like, and he got destroyed. And I just thought to myself, there you go, there's another lesson. If you're jamming with someone like Paul, stay friendly. It's just like, there's only going to be one winner if if it starts to become a duel. Anyway, look. So sorry, we were doing pedals.
So let's go to my Boss loop. Now, not loop as in record your guitar, but loop as in effects loop. So I've got this. I put a piece of tape on it so it says clean, so I remember what it does, and I press that, and that bypasses all the distortion pedals.
Yeah.
And in this loop, I've got a Boss compressor, and a Catalan bred Callisto chorus pedal. So suddenly I can still have my volume all the way up on the guitar. So it's just switching
between the route with the drive pedals in versus the route
with I can be like full blast,
Yeah.
that's
a great
nice.
idea. I might do that on my, because I use 3 or 4 overdrive pedals, and that is the problem. If they're all on, to turn them all off, it's like
so that immediately just gets you clean.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And then I have a second Boss effects loop pedal that chooses between 2 signal sources. One, and I create that by having a buffer pedal that's got 2 outputs, basically a glorified Y cable. It turns one signal into 2 identical ones, and one goes straight to the looper. So I have the choice of nothing, or of just normal guitar.
Yeah.
The other one goes through a Boss DD. I think it's a DD8. Which has this really cool 5-second backwards thing, and that sounds best if you turn all the dry off.
Yeah.
Now the problem is because it's 5 seconds long, you need to put 5 seconds of something into it.
Yeah.
Which takes 5 seconds, and in that time you're off, and you don't want to be off. So the Y cable, or the splitting the guitar, allows me to feed that all the time. So even when I'm not listening to the output of it, it's being fed input. So I can play, seamlessly.
That was watching you there was like a badly dubbed movie where you can see the fingers doing something, but a different sound is coming out. But
so if you're doing cool. The famous Hendrix songs with backwards stuff, it's not going to be the exact solo on the record, but it has the spirit of it, and it's a nice place to get again all the fun of doing the hard mushrooms or whatever without whatever side effects.
And does the board evolve just like any other guitar player's board evolve? Like you'll see a video, or you'll see someone else using something, you think, oh, do you know what, I'm going to change my chorus pedal for that, or is it very much like...
I'm always swapping stuff out.
Yeah.
Well, and the one other one is there's on the Zeppelin medley that I'm doing, we do Houses of the Holy, which has that... And that kind of, it's like a flanger that's stopped. And the classic pedal that does that is the Electro Harmonix Electric Mistress. It has a filter matrix button on it, or switch. But that's a giant pedal. And I only had a little bit of room left, so I found that this Moore pedal, it's a good price too.
It's super popular.
That has the switch.
Yeah.
Now if you turn the switch, then it starts moving. But if you want it to stop, then you just put that switch, and then it's locked in that one. It's sort of like you remember the Cylons, from the Buck Rogers TV show. There was a Cylons with the robots, and they all talk like they.
Do you know what? An old friend of mine, and this is nothing to do with guitars. This is trivia. His dad was the original bad guy from Battle. There was like a human who was in charge of the. What were they called? Like Cylons or something?
Well, the Cylons were the
red
robots
light that just went like that. Yeah. So his dad, he was a famous American or Canadian actor, I think he was, and I'm trying to think what his bloody name was. But yeah, that was his dad. That was like
a Cylon with a Canadian accent.
Yeah, absolutely. Great TV. It was better back then. Look, we should really talk about these guitars as well, as we have Ibanez and Laney to thank for bringing you along today. And are you, let me see, will you be Ibanez's longest running endorsee, or does
Well, just by George Benson.
Is he the only one that's longer?
Well, because the early George Benson models were in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I started endorsing Ibanez, I think, around 1987, which is the 80s, so that's later.
Yeah.
But the thing that I feel very fortunate, besides that they're just really cool guitars, is I have 2 distinct signature models.
Yeah.
The Fireman's very different shape and feel from the PGM.
Yeah.
And I love them both, because this one's the slightly shorter scale, that one's a slightly longer scale. Obviously the body's a lot different. So depending on my mood, it's nice to have. And plus, Ibanez also has a whole history of amazing instruments. and I'm always looking for the used ones,
right?
Because I love the stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. I just bought a 2007 ADD 120. It looks like Gumby combined with a Ibanez Destroyer, and it was like under $300. I can't wait. It's coming in the mail.
I remember being in an old guitar shop and seeing an Ibanez guitar that must have been from I don't even know when Ibanez started making electric guitars, but it must have been an early 70s model. And the switching referred to what was your microphone position.
Oh.
So it would be like mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, and it was obviously just like a real, like crazy early, where even stuff like that was just getting lost in translation as to what was going on.
That does remind me of a good Ibanez story, which was a NAMM show, probably late 80s, early 90s, and the lineup for this performance at the NAMM show was myself, I think it was Vi and Satriani, Sean Lane, Andy Timmons, Alex Skolnick. Maybe there's more I'm forgetting, but it was like 6 or 7
good ones,
ones on stage. And now I had seen a couple NAMM jams like this in the past, and when you get all the metal guys on stage, everybody plays rhythm guitar full blast.
Right.
So you can't hear the solo. But the photos look great. It's like, wow, look, all the people on stage, must have been incredible. You couldn't hear anything because 7 guys all playing rhythm full blast. And so I figured, well, the only thing that really matters here is the photo. So I took my guitar and I unscrewed the strap bolt and put it on the bottom and played left-handed. Because I thought that's going to look, people are going to be like, wow, Paul can play left-handed, that's amazing. It doesn't matter how I said, nobody's going to hear me anyway. But the metal philosophy had evolved, and everybody, as we were playing, I noticed people are turning down so the soloist can be heard. And I'm going, I'm going to be in trouble because, they're actually going to hear me, and I can't play left-handed. So with some quick thinking, I realized now this goes back to the microphone. If you turn on enough distortion pedals, I'm going to turn mine up a little bit.
Another genius trick here, genius hack.
The pickup becomes so sensitive that you can actually sing through it. So, I can't remember what song we were playing, but, Going Down or something, doing that. And so I just went like, and I sang the whole solo like a big electric kazoo, and everybody thought like he's playing left-handed with his teeth. So I got to have some start a legendary myth, and it all turned out positive.
That is genius. That is genius, and another tremendous hack. Look, why don't you play us out with something, anything? It's been a pleasure to have you here. We got a sold-out Paul Gilbert and Lisa X clinic tonight. Woo-hoo! So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. Play us out with something. If it's simple enough and you want me to accompany, I will. If not, I'll stay out the way. But please like and subscribe. Stay tuned because Lisa X is going to be in the next video. It's always a pleasure to see you, man. I'm looking forward to hanging for a bit.
You too, Lee. Thank you so much.
To eat later. Thank you. Yes, please check out Paul Gilbert if you're in need of some lessons or inspiration or anything. Just go follow him.
Come to Artist Works where I teach 16,000 video exchanges.
Do that. There'd be 16,001 probably by tomorrow because you'll do one in the hotel tonight.
Exactly. And let's see. What to play? Well, again, I need to have my tempo and my key. How about? Can you give me a? Let's see if we can do this one. So this is the chord of the 70s.
What was the?
It's like A major with it, and the first one is a minor 7.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right.
This is sung by Gamma.
By who?
Voyager.
I'll put loads of reverb on.
you so much.
Thanks, man. See you later. Au revoir.